Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 ICPSR Data Fair. This year's theme is Anchored in Data Reality. We are so happy to have you join us today for this webinar titled Deep Dive into the Child and Family Data Archive, or CFData, Exploring Early Care and Education Data Resources. My name is Vrinda Mahishi, and I am a data project manager at CFData, and I will be steering the ship today as we journey under the CFData. For today's webinar, I will give an overview of the archive and the resources that we have to support researchers in finding and analyzing data. I will then go over in more detail how you can access the data and the different restriction levels. Finally, we'll close this webinar with a brief question and answer session. The Child and Family Data Archive, also known as CFData, is a project funded by the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation, or OPRE, within the U.S. Government's Administration for Children and Families. CFData is housed at ICPSR at the University of Michigan. The archive was launched in 2019, so about 5 years ago, and our mission is to preserve and disseminate data on topics related to young children, their families and communities, and the programs that serve them. We provide access to nearly 400 data sets along with their accompanying documentation, all made available for secondary data analysis. Importantly, because the work of the archive is funded through OPRE, the data are available to users at no additional cost. The type of data we have in this archive is wide-ranging. We have both quantitative and qualitative data. We have data on federal and state-funded programs such as Head Start, the Child Care and Development Fund Block Grant, and the Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Program. We also have administrative data, community-based surveys focused on parent and child development, including academic-related outcomes, and observational studies in classrooms and homes. So why use CFData for your research or dissertation or master's thesis? As mentioned earlier, with almost 400 studies available, there is a wealth of data in this archive. If you're interested in research questions related to the early learning environment and how it relates to students' learning and later development. Over half the studies are public use, with select studies available for analysis within our online analysis feature on the website. 164 studies are restricted use because they contain sensitive data. I will go into more detail about how to access the different levels of data later on in the presentation. We have also developed several resources and tools to help guide students, including search tools and filters to help you find your study of interest or even your variable of interest. Additionally, each study has a homepage which provides a summary of the study and information on weights, methods, design, and more. And then on that study homepage, interested users can also download documentation, including surveys, questionnaires, and code books for the study prior to determining if they want to download the data or apply for access. And we can also provide guidance on accessing the data, and we have staff available to assist via user support. Lastly, we have developed a resource packet, which is included in the chat, I believe. Yes, Abigail has just put a link in there. And we'll also send a link to that via email after the webinar. It includes infographics and a table summarizing characteristics of some of our major studies, as well as links to resources on the website. This packet is intended to be shared widely with any interested students, professors who might be conducting secondary analyses in their classes, department leads, or subject area librarians who can include it in their LibGuides. Finally, I want to highlight the ICPSR bibliography. So this is where you can see how the study has been cited in the past. And once you've completed your own dissertation, thesis, or research publication, you can share your work with us and have it included in our bibliography, where it will be linked on the study homepage, helping to further disseminate your work to our audience. As you can see, CFData data have been accessed by many students over the years. Here is a snapshot from 2017 to 2022, where over 89 students cited CFData studies in their master's thesis or dissertation. We had 76 dissertations and 13 master's theses across a wide range of departments, including psychology, human development and child studies, education, policy, economics, social work, and more. So hopefully I have now piqued your interest and you are wondering, how do I find this archive with all of this amazing data? The best way to find CFData is to go to the website at the URL shown at the bottom of the screen, childandfamilydataarchive.org. And then through the website, you'll be able to explore the data, see how others have used the data, and learn more about the data training opportunities that we provide. And once you're on the CFData website, you'll want to click on the first tab called Getting Started. So this is a great place to get oriented to the website and the resources available, especially for new users. This page provides quick links to some of our featured resources to guide you in exploring our collection and finding data to meet your research needs. There are two ways to search for data on our website. One is through the main homepage via the large search bar circled here in red, where you can type your search term and press enter or click on the magnifying glass. The second way is to go under the data tab circled here and click on find data, which takes you to this page. So in this first section, similar to the bar we showed on the main homepage, you would just search for your subject of interest here. But if you're not quite sure what you're looking for, you can browse the data by looking at some common search terms here, where it says browse by category. This is just a snapshot of some of the search terms that we have, but there are more on the data page if you scroll down. You can also find data for your research by searching for specific variables. The Variables tab allows you to search for and compare variables across all the studies in the CFData archive. Currently, that is over 600,000 variables. What you would do is enter words or phrases that relate to your measures of interest in the search box circled here in red, and then the search results will return a list of variables related to your search term, including information on the variable name, the label and question text if it's available, and the variable type and associated data set. Similar to the Variables tab, you can search for data through the Data Related Publications tab, which allows you to search our database of over 10,000 publications. So say, for example, that you are interested in using a certain study to examine a question about executive functioning in young children. By searching the data-related publications, you can see what has been published on that topic with a specific study and get a sense of how people have analyzed your constructs of interest with that data set. Also, you can search for publications across studies by topic, and the results will let you know which data sets are commonly used to answer questions about a particular topic. So this is a great way to find out about different data sets that may not have been on your radar, that would help you answer the question that you're researching. Another way to explore and find relevant data for your research is to check out our infographics under the Resources tab. So here's a partial snapshot of one of our infographics. The study name is listed on the left side here, and then the bar represents the range of the children's ages that are included in the study. Also, the color of the bars indicate different time methods. So, for example, blue indicates a longitudinal study, green is cross-sectional, and orange is repeated cross-sectional. So this is helpful in determining whether you can use certain analytic approaches with the data. Similarly, here is another snapshot of an infographic that organizes select data sets by when the data were collected, using the same color coding that you saw in the last infographic. So for example, here, if you take a look at the Child Care and Development Fund CCDF policies database, each of these dots represent a study within this series. So since it is an annual database, we get a new database each year as represented by these dots. And I also want to mention that if you're interested in a study with multiple respondents, so for example, you want parent, teacher, and administrators' perspectives, or if you're interested in data sets with child assessments, we also have a chart that helps you identify those studies as well. So I really encourage you to check out these infographics to get a sense of the breadth of data that is available through CFData. Also, under the Resources tab, you will find a page that has all of our video resources. So CFData often hosts data webinars, usually a data release webinar when a new study has been released that the data producers go through each of the different data files and the structure of the data. But we also have data trainings that are on a specific topic. And here you will find recordings of these webinars and their accompanying slides. On this video resources page, you will also be able to find general videos about the CFData archive and how to search for videos on our website. The videos are shown chronologically, but you can filter by study here. Finally, CFData also has a seasonal newsletter that we send out to our listserv. In that newsletter, we highlight new data released, recent user publications, events and news, and any upcoming data training webinars. Each newsletter has a theme where we spotlight data related to that theme. Past themes have been on dual language learners, teacher characteristics, data related to COVID-19, and most recently, grants offered by OPRE for secondary analysis of data. The newsletter is a great way to stay up to date on what's going on with the archive, so I highly recommend that you subscribe to our listserv. And here, to sign up for the listserv, you can find the link on the Contact Us tab and enter your contact information, and that will keep you updated on everything going on at CFData. And we have included a link in the chat to the signups page. So now let's turn to how you can access the data. CFData hosts a range of data with varying levels of sensitive information. Data with little to no risk of identifying a participant are categorized as public use data. These data are available for download or online analysis instantly. Data with risk of indirect identification of a participant, for example, due to a small sample size, protected or vulnerable populations, or due to requirements of the funding agency or data producer, etc., are categorized as restricted use data and require an application process to access. We restrict data to maintain confidentiality of participants while still preserving the viability of the data for research purposes. There are different levels of restriction. So here we have a general overview showing the data type, the method of access, how to access each data type, and the timeline to access. From the arrow on the left, you can see that the colors going from green to blue to orange represent increasing sensitivity of the data and therefore are more restricted. The green boxes represent accessing study documentation and searching variables, which we always recommend as a great first step when exploring the data and deciding which data set you may want to download or apply for access to. You would then access this information directly on the CFData website instantly. The blue boxes show the public use data, which can be downloaded instantly without an application or accessed with the online analysis feature. Accessing public use or restricted use data both require users to create a free ICPSR login account and login, which is where you will manage your applications. Lastly, the orange boxes highlight the different levels of restricted data. So we have secure download, virtual data enclave, and the physical data enclave, and the steps and timeline for gaining access. In general, the timeline involves initial review by CFData staff within 2 to 4 weeks of application submission. And then once approved, access is then valid for 2 years as long as the application is kept in compliance. And then there is an option to renew annually after that. So I know this was a lot of information, but everything that is provided here, including this graphic, is available on our website to assist you in the application process. When searching for data on the website to see if it is a public or a restricted use study, you can filter for public use or restricted use by using the restriction type filter and then selecting a level of restriction. So first, let's take a look at public use data and how to access it. CFData has 208 public use studies that can be accessed by users instantly. Public use data can be accessed in 2 ways. The first way we're going to talk about is the online analysis feature. So online analysis is a unique feature available for about 90 studies archived with us. Users can explore and analyze data without downloading the data or even needing to have any statistical software on your computer. This feature would be a great tool for instructors during classroom exercises or for students analyzing data in statistics workshops, for example. Through online analysis, you can recode and create new variables, perform various types of analysis, including frequencies and crosstabs. So for example, you can review summary statistics for missing data. You can do comparison of means and correlations, a correlation matrix, regression analyses, and also apply analytic weights. You can produce simple summary statistics for reports, export results for use in spreadsheets and presentations, and then create custom subsets of variables or cases for download into an SPSS, SAS, Stata, or a comma-separated data set from large collections to save time and storage space on your computer. To find studies that have the online analysis feature, use the data format filter on the search results page and select for online analysis. And then when you click on the study, you would go to the study homepage, which would where you can select the Analyze Online button, and then a new modal box will pop up, allowing you to select from a list of available data sets to analyze within that study. Next, looking at downloading public use data. If you have a stats package such as SAS, SPSS, Stata, R, etc., that you would like to use, or if you want to do more complex analyses than what is offered in online analysis, or if it's one of the public use studies that doesn't have the online analysis feature, you can download the public use data directly. And as you can see, there are multiple data formats that you can choose from based on your own preference. Next, let's take a look at the restricted use data access methods. So CFData has almost 200 studies that are restricted use, meaning that they contain sensitive information with a potential for indirect identification of a participant. Restricted use data can be accessed in one of three ways, depending on the study. So the first is secure download. So this is when a user selects a data security plan during their application process and then downloads the data either to a non-networked computer, an external hard drive, or to a local virtual enclave on an isolated network, depending on the approved location specified in the plan. The majority of the restricted use studies at CFData are available via secure download. Next, we have the ICPSR Virtual Data Enclave, in which you access the data through ICPSR's virtual desktops. Only a select few studies are currently accessed in the VDE. Next, the last one we have is ICPSR Physical Data Enclave. So this is located at our ICPSR office here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The PDE is only for the most sensitive data. And currently, CFData only has one study, which is the video data from the Mother and Infant Home Visiting Program Evaluation Study for access via the PDE. We encourage users who want to use restricted use data to plan ahead because accessing restricted use data requires some time to submit an application and receive approval. We also recommend that users spend time reviewing the code books and variables to determine whether a restricted use data set is relevant for your needs before you apply for the data. And then once you've selected a study, a restricted use study that you'd like to access, you can begin your application by clicking on the Access Restricted Data button highlighted here on the study homepage, and then follow the instructions and the sections that are shown here. So this is a screenshot of the application portal. So the application requires several pieces of information. Access to restricted data at CFData requires that the principal investigator hold a terminal degree, such as a PhD, MD, JD, etc. However, students or other researchers can still access the data by having a sponsor with a terminal degree, and then all others would be listed here under research staff. Other required information includes a description of the intended research project, a data security plan, an IRB determination letter, and a signed restricted data use agreement. Archive staff are available to assist you with your application and to answer any questions that you may have. So just email us at cfdata-help@umich.edu. And now we are happy to take a few questions, so please feel free to type your questions into the question box.
Vrinda, one question is, how long does it typically take to access the data?
Oh, so in terms of the application, once you have submitted your application, we will do an initial review and provide feedback within 2 to 4 weeks of the submission. And then if there are some areas that we require some extra information or something to edit, we would work with you to get that completed. And then once it is approved, you would get the data, the link to the data within 5 days. Some of the time-consuming parts of the application process, though, are gathering the information for the application, such as the signatures required for the restricted data use agreement, because they have to be signed by an institutional representative. So somebody at your institution who has the authority to sign a legal agreement. So that takes a bit of time. So we always encourage people to get started as early as they can to ensure that they get the data in a timely way.
Another question from a attendee is, what kind of webinars do you host and when is the next one?
Oh, um, we host several data release webinars is a common theme that we have. So this is when a new study comes out. We invite the data producers to kind of share a lot of information about what would be important to know when using the data. So the different data file structure and things like that. We've also had trainings where data producers have shared a specific topic or a workshop on how to use a data set.
Another question from an attendee, what are examples of positions who might be considered institutional representatives?
Um, Usually it's people who are who work in the Office of Research and Sponsored Projects. So somebody who works either in a department such as that or a contracts manager. So a lot of people who work in the legal department and are authorized to sign contracts. We will say that usually that doesn't include deans or academic department professionals. It's usually someone that is more associated with the administrative end of the university.
Another question, why are some OPRE-sponsored project data part of the DSDR archive and not CFData? For example, babies' first years.
That is a good question. I think I would have to go back and look exactly at the funding and the data archiving plan that was put in place for that. It's possible that the topic was more related to child development and less related to education, which was a lot of we do focus on early education. We focus on home visiting programs. So it might have been that the subject area was a bit more well suited to the DSDR archive, but I can definitely look into that a little bit more and find out for you. Oh, and I see that our my colleague has mentioned that OPRE has many divisions, and so um, certain other studies might be falling under different divisions within OPRE. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time. So we have reached the end of our voyage across CFData. We would like to thank all of you for joining us today, and I want to give a quick reminder to visit CFData at childandfamilydataarchive.org to explore the resources that we presented here and to also sign up for our listserv. You can also contact us at cfdata-help@umich.edu if you have any questions. The recording of today's webinar will be available in the Data Fair playlist within approximately 48 hours. We also invite you to visit ICPSR to find the link to the playlist and to register for the remainder of the 2024 ICPSR Data Fair webinars. Thank you all again for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.